Hi, I'm Scott Simpson,
Hi, I'm Sharla Steever.
and welcome to another episode of Humanity, Human-Shaped Learning.
Yes, and it's the holiday season.
It is. We're smack dab in the middle of it.
And that can be really awesome
Yeah,
and sometimes not so awesome
uh,
for some people.
yeah.
But we're hoping that whatever your situation is right now, that we can bring a little joy and peace and maybe some comfort to you.
That's right.
As you sit with us for the next bit of time.
That's right. We're still here at Camp Placerville and here in the Black Hills, and we've got a nice fire going, and so it's really good. This is a really nice, warm place for us to be.
It is, and it just feels good to be here.
It does.
You know, there's something about this. Last year was Placerville's 100th year as a camp, and it's just, I don't know, it's a special place. A lot of people have come through, and will continue to come through.
That's
in
right.
the future. So this is the first year in 100 years, though, that we didn't have any campers.
Right.
Due to the pandemic, and that's been. And our family's been here for 24
Yeah.
years, so that's really a strange, odd time.
It's gonna make this next summer that much more exciting. even,
definitely.
you know,
Definitely.
everybody's gonna be so excited to get back to things, and it'll be
Yes.
great.
Yes. Well, this is my
Yeah,
episode, isn't
I'm
it?
excited. I can't wait. Yeah, you sent me some materials, and I refused to look at them because I just wanted to be like totally fresh.
You know, that's nothing new.
I didn't do my homework.
He doesn't look at anything I send him.
Not true.
I'm just
I
kidding.
I
Just
just
sort of.
procrastinate on my homework
okay.
sometimes.
Okay. So as we move through our cycle of different areas of humanity, this one happens to focus on relationships. And I spent some time just sort of thinking about the time of year and what that means for relationships. And I don't know about you, but sometimes holidays and that just the normal time we would be gathering, and maybe you're seeing relatives you haven't seen for a long time, or I don't know what it looks like for you, but I do know that sometimes it can be stressful.
Yeah.
And I know I experience that at times. I know people in my family do. And I have a lot of friends who do.
Yeah.
And so I thought about it, and what I kind of came up with was I went with a theme for this one. And the theme that I chose is a simple one, but I feel like it's the perfect theme for the Christmas season, which is love.
Yeah. That's great.
And so I chose a poem about love, and I chose an article, but I think we'll go in some unique and different directions than we normally might do when we talk about love.
That's great.
So for I chose a third thing, and I used a poem. Sometimes we use other things, but John O'Donohue,
Yeah.
who's a favorite of mine, really spoke to me as I was reading through a book that I have of his. And this particular poem is it's titled "When Love Awakens in Your Life." And I read it, and it made me think of not only the holidays, but just the special people that are in my life. And so, you know, as we take time to look at this, I'd invite you to not only think about the people closest to you in your life that you love, but the people who are just part of your life, in your work, in your coming and going, in your community, the people that you see, you know.
They do stuff. You meet them when you're at the grocery, or when you're, taking care of business. And
so kind of hold all of that as we think about this Christmas season, and the importance of showing and bearing out that love into the world in the best way we can.
Yeah.
I just invite you to hold that as we talk about this.
Terrific.
So
we'll put the poem up on the screen for you.
yeah, and so let's go ahead and just listen as this poem is read, and then we'll talk about it. When love awakens in your life, in the night of your heart, it is like the dawn breaking within you. Where before there was anonymity, now there is intimacy. Where before there was fear, now there is courage. Where before in your life there was awkwardness. Now there is a rhythm of grace and gracefulness. Where before you used to be jagged, now you are elegant and in rhythm with yourself. When love awakens in your life, it is like a rebirth, a new beginning. What did you think of that? What did anything stand out to you, Scott, as I was reading through that?
Yeah. You know what I thought about was that first word "when" is not a one-time thing. You know, I thought about that because I think love can awaken the night of your heart, which I really love that you've gotten to this place where there's a darkness, and that's exactly when you need it to be awakened. But we fall back into that. I mean, as human beings, we forget that. You know, it's not like love awakened in my life at one point and then it stayed awake the rest of the time. It's like I really, there's a, I don't want to be negative about this, but there's a vigilance there. There's a vigilance with all of these things, with intimacy and courage and gracefulness and rhythm and elegance, where we slip and forget, and then we have to wake back up.
Yes.
And I think honestly that's the misunderstanding about love and about even being enlightened or aware that we have, that we think, I got this. Just last year I was in such a good place, and right now I'm feeling like, and that's the way. That's being human. That's being human. We learn it, and then we need to relearn it, and then we need to relearn it again, and that's.
And I really think love is one of those things that you need it constantly. It's not, I can remember an old joke about the old couple who, the wife was upset because the husband never told her that he loved her.
Yeah.
And his comment was, I told you I loved you on our wedding day. If it ever changes, I'll let you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, without that reminder, you can lose sight of it, and you can feel like, even though nothing has really changed, is it still there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's important. It's why staying connected in our relationships are so important, because it's the time, and it's the thought, and it's the, I am thinking of you today, that is when people, I think, experience love on those levels we were talking about at the beginning. The
Right.
people you are not necessarily in touch with all day, every day, but the people who maybe are on the sidelines in your life. So I especially was struck by the line about awkwardness.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that for me is love. It's when somebody accepts all those things about you, and it no longer, the things that you wonder about yourself and you think, this thing about me is just so weird. But when you are with someone that you love and knows loves you, those things don't matter anymore.
Yeah. This reminds me. I mean, we've talked about this before about self-care, but also self-love. I mean, that's one of the things that does when I am feeling particularly awkward or ungraceful for some reason in some way, or another way of putting that, maybe I'm having difficulty right now loving myself. I'm like really aware of my failures, but not my positives. You need someone else who loves you to remind you of that, and
There's a saying that I love, and I've used it with youth a lot over the years, but the importance of being witness to someone's life. We need those people who are noticing
Yeah.
with us, that can remind us.
Yeah.
Again, when we get to that place where all we can think of are the things, our failures. We get to that dark place, and sometimes during the holidays that happens.
Right.
Where something happens with a family member or something, and you suddenly feel like you're in the dark. And you need that person who loves you in your life to be witness to you again and to say, that does happen, and yes, those things happen that hurt, but you are loved, and you need to know that you're loved. And so I feel like this time of year especially is important to be reminded of that.
I'm glad you also mentioned the people that are in our lives that we maybe don't know. We just interact with them, And I think part of that noticing is noticing when they may need to be reminded of that. Even though I don't necessarily have any sort of real relationship or connection or ongoing kind of responsibility for someone, and it's like okay, in these days of COVID, I quite often go into town where I live because at my house I don't have good Wi-Fi. But I go into town and I do some work at it's actually my folks' house where they have some good Wi-Fi. But I always go through Burger King drive-through to get a coffee before I do that.
Yeah.
And it's literally the same young woman who's always there. And she knows exactly, and she knows it's me, and she gives me my coffee. So this morning, and I usually, I try to think of it, but I, there's this dynamic, because she's got these things that she's supposed to say, thank you, have a good day, or something like that. But to just pause and say, thank you, you have a really good day today too, okay? And to say it in a different way that breaks the monotony of her mantra that she's in, just doing her job. And I can tell, I did that this morning as I was leaving town to come out here. And I just thought, I wish I was more aware of that all the time. I'm not always. But breaking just the kind of robotic sorts of interactions that we have with people that are just there all the time, and we just I'm getting my coffee and paying her and going, that we break the monotony of that and actually have even just a moment of real affirmation and human interaction.
Eye contact.
Eye contact.
I think about drive-throughs are kind of a big deal right now because many people are choosing not to go in places, or places are closed. And you can't go in. The only thing you can do is the drive-through. Yeah. And how easy it is to just go through those motions and not even ever notice the person who's on the other side of the window, who is, this is what their life is like right now, is being there. And we can offer love in a way that happens just through the kind of interaction you're talking about, or, making sure that you notice them, that they feel noticed. Yeah. So that actually is a good segue into the article that I chose.
Awesome.
Today.
Look forward to it.
I love Psychology Today, that site, and I found an article today that it talks about the need to love. And, we think about love in Christmas time and holidays and all of that, getting lots of love. Right. But this article actually kind of turns that on its head and says, yes, it's important to be loved. But for true happiness and joy for an individual, the most important thing is to have someone to love.
That's interesting.
And I was really struck by this. In fact, as I was preparing, I went in and found a TED Talk about it. And I loved it. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in hearing more about this. His name was Michael Norton, and it's a little older, but very applicable.
Oh, that's great.
And he talks about, I don't remember the exact title, but it's something like, Can Money Buy Love?
Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah. And it was Well, yes, it can. Actually, you would think no, but actually said in their study it can. And so we'll talk about that in a minute.
Cool.
I thought that was really interesting. So, as we look at this article or just talk about it a little bit, there were a couple things that I found to be really interesting, and I thought they were very important for especially this time of year. And one of the things is that having someone to love is something that ranks up there with anything else that people list as what it is to be, happy in their life. Basically, that they are satisfied. And one of the very top things was to have somebody to love. And so one of the lines in here that stood out to me was, in our pursuit of the need to be loved, most of us fail to recognize that we have a parallel need, the need to love and care for others. This desire, it turns out, is just as strong as the need to be loved and nurtured. And that really caused me to stop a little bit because, maybe in your normal day-to-day life, you interact with a lot of people and you have opportunities to share love with others. And I was thinking, I'll just talk from my perspective. One of the things I do in normal non-COVID times, is I see a lot of kids
Right.
at my church. I do a little community program. And I have been missing not only seeing these kids, but it's not just that I get to see them. It's the hugs and the look on a little one's face when they come towards you and they're so excited to see you, and then you get to offer that right back to them. That interchange is really life-giving to me.
Yeah.
And as much as it's nice to have the people I'm very closest to, my family, that I can still do that with during this pandemic time, I'm noticing that I normally would be interacting with a much larger circle.
Yeah.
And so that might be part of why I know I have struggled over the last months to feel as like I have as much of a purpose.
Right.
I don't know about you, but sometimes feeling like that things that I do are as important or matter in any way.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it right now.
Right.
And as I read this article and as I listened to Michael Norton talk about it, it just struck me that maybe part of what's missing is the opportunity to show that, to show love. So anyway, the other thing that was really interesting, I wanted to share a little bit about what Michael talked about in his TED Talk with this whole idea of, can you buy love?
Right.
Can money buy love? And they did a little research project on this, a little, I don't know what the word is that I want, but an experiment, I guess, where they gave some college students $5 and $20, and they divided groups, and some of the young people had to spend $5 on themselves, or $20 on themselves, or $5 on someone else, or $20 on someone else. And then they just kind of let everybody go do their thing. And then they checked in with them at the end of the day to see how they felt. And what they found was the people who had been given money and told, go buy something for yourself, when they asked them about how they were feeling happiness-wise, did it do anything for them? A lot of them bought coffee. They said that was like the most popular thing. And, it was nice to get a cup of coffee, but as far as changing the way they felt, it didn't really.
Because they might have bought themselves a cup of coffee anyway.
Right. But whether it was $20 or $5, when it was spent trying to figure out something to do for another person, there was some sort of thing that happened inside that caused them to feel some joy or happiness.
Yeah.
And I just found that to be really interesting. And, there's a whole song about love isn't love till you give it away.
Oh, right.
But so it's not a new concept. It's the fact, though, that making an effort to do it. And so this is more with maybe the people that you aren't as in close contact with all the time. It's like around that idea of doing it randomly.
Right.
And so, for example, during this holiday season especially, and other times during the year, I like occasionally, when I think of it, to pay for the person behind me in the drive-through.
Yeah, you and Carrie have done that for me before.
Well, sometimes it works out that we know the person, but to totally randomly, just do that. I love that. I mean, the actual, I think it maybe makes the other person happy, but there's something that's sort of triggered inside of me that says, I hope that person felt seen, cared for, loved.
Right.
In that moment, whether, and I think sometimes, especially if it's a long line and we've been waiting and people are feeling antsy about getting back to work or something, to have that moment to stop and realize that someone else noticed them and wanted to do something kind, that it not only helps me as the one who's doing it, hopefully it helps them. It always helps the person in the window.
Oh, sure.
They're so excited about it. Can I tell them it's just a surprise? Yes. Just do it. And then, I think it carries on from there. When you experience that, you want to offer it because you know that it made you feel better.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are some of the things that stood out to me.
I wonder if sometimes, I think they go together. Feeling love, receiving love, and giving love. But I wonder if we sometimes mistake an absence of feeling loved, getting the love I think I need or deserve. It may just be that I'm not giving it. I'm not. The answer, and this is, a lot of smart folks have said this in different ways, that if I'm feeling an absence of being loved, what I need to do is not beg for more love, but go out and distribute it, that I need to be with others the way I would love for them to be with me. That seems like that should be a golden rule or something.
I think you've
maybe so.
I think it's a good reminder for us, though, this time of year, to maybe make that extra effort. And to think about the people in your life. I think about some of the people I do interact with that I know are struggling a little bit when it comes to money this time of year, or just feeling like they're getting it all done. I know I shouldn't say this because I know it's more than moms, but moms especially, a lot of times, a lot of the Christmas things fall to the mom, to buy the gifts and whatever, and it can become more of a chore than a really enjoyable experience.
Right.
And so I actually think these really small, random acts are the pieces that will actually impact you more. It's one thing to go out and go shopping for your family and the people who are probably expecting a gift from you this time of year. It's another thing to randomly notice something and offer something, whether it be, hey, can I babysit for you tonight? Or, hey, I noticed this article and thought you might enjoy it, and so you send it to someone. Or those things that say, I'm noticing you, I'm thinking about you, you are important to me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, and I'm not saying that expectations aren't good, but I feel like socially we have these expectations that are set in place that sometimes steal that joy away, because it's like, whether we're talking about Christmas or Mother's Day or Valentine's Day or whatever you want to talk about, because the expectations, the societal level expectations are such, and it's been so, I don't know if commercialized is what, but there's just these are the things that you're going to do. So when you do something for the person you love, it's kind of like, well, is that really love? Or is that like, you'd be such an idiot if you didn't give your kids gifts at Christmas time? And how do we break that? How do we say, okay, obviously, I would be a jerk if I didn't give the people I love gifts at Christmas. That's most of society, our society would say that, but it's not that. It's something much more. And maybe it's giving, having Christmas not look that much different than any other time, at least in the way I engage with other people. I don't know if that's possible, but it just seems a shame that we can't just be just really spontaneous and a little bit random with these acts of giving and kindness and love. Yeah.
And noticing, it shouldn't always be about ourselves, but
Right.
noticing what it does inside of you. When you have been generous with something, what do you feel inside when that happens? There was a line in this article that I really appreciated. It said, finally, and this may be the most important reason why being generous enhances happiness levels, is because of the story that you tell yourself. When you are generous, the story you tell yourself is that you have everything you need and more. And when we think of ourselves in that way, that, you know what, I have everything I need right now, I want to share this with you, that helps us too.
Yeah.
It really helps us to feel differently.
It's an affirmation that I'm okay, and I have some excess to,
And that there's enough. That whole idea of abundancy and scarcity
Yeah,
in the
right.
world, that's a theme we look at a lot with our courage work. And anytime we can live in the state of feeling abundant, our outlook is different. It's more positive. It's better for the world. Anytime I suddenly start to feel like resources are scarce, whether it's actual resources or love or whatever it is, I can feel myself shut in on myself. It's like
Right.
I close in and I'm worried, and it's like you want to hang on to the things that you have even tighter because you're so fearful of losing it.
right.
So that's kind of where I went with that whole idea of being in relationship.
That's
Love.
great, and I think it's really timely with with the holiday season, because it really is easy to lose sight of these things, to allow it to just become. It's almost like like that little interaction at the drive-through at Burger King. It's almost like it's easy to let Christmas itself and holiday season and birthdays and things like that become like that drive-through where we just kind of go through the motions and it's an exchange and we move on and we feel empty and we don't know why. I don't know. Breaking out of that is so incredibly important to change the narrative enough to make it, no, this is real. This is this is a real giving thing. This is a real opportunity to connect.
Yes, I agree. I think taking the time and making a goal of having that be a part of who we are, and as we move into a new year, I
Yeah.
guess I'm thinking about that too. Not something that I have to check off every day. Have I been
Right.
generous? I don't want it to become something that is like, but taking time every now and then, maybe those moments like you were talking about where you're not feeling as loved, to say, have I not been showing it?
Yeah,
And is there a way I can show it today?
yeah.
What
Yeah,
would that look like?
That may be a good litmus test. If I'm feeling kind of down and kind of unloved, that may be telling me that's what I need to distribute. That's
Right.
what I need to start shower the people you love with love.
That sounds familiar.
James Taylor. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you come up with a quote
I
today?
did. I
Yeah?
didn't. It wasn't even "Shower the People You Love with Love"
Aw.
by James Taylor, but that would be a
Another
good one.
one.
We could do that one.
Yeah, totally.
No, I found a good quote, and as we've mentioned, and we highlight, Sharla really doesn't know what the quote is, and I didn't really look closely at everything that you were doing as I was selecting my quotes.
Okay.
So I think there's some really great dynamics once again here with this. So this comes from, sometimes I find quotes from people that I know. this is not a person that I know. So,
Okay.
So if you know this person, you're probably thinking, oh, what a dummy. I can't believe he doesn't know her. So this is from a Command Kajori. Here's the quote. We reveal most about ourselves when we speak about others. And I thought about this when I saw it about us as teachers. And I know how much I've expressed on occasion frustration with this dummy who didn't get his work done again, and he's just trying to get away with everything, and he's just not. And for me to stop and say, you know what, that really does reveal a lot more about me than it does about that student. And what happens if I change that? If I say, hey, I am looking at my students, and yeah, they do some frustrating things, but what comes out of me, the dialogue that I carry within myself and that I give out to others, I'm going to make that something that expresses the potential that's there and my positivity about their potential.
And I would draw it right back into our conversation today around love.
Yeah.
You know, if you are speaking about others from a place of love, meaning I am loved and I am showing love, that is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
That changes what comes out.
Yeah.
You know, you don't become as negative
That's right.
when you are really speaking from that place.
That's right.
So, as you maybe draw to a close with some of your holiday celebrations, we hope that you are feeling that love, that you are able to find opportunities to be loved and show love in your lives.
Good way to close out a year.
Yeah.
Talking and thinking about love.
Definitely.
Well, we'll see you next episode.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.